friends, happy Thursday. At least I hope it's been happy, but you've made it all the way to 5:30. Whoop, whoop. So it's time for some Q&A with Lee Brown. And today we're going to start with a question that was submitted by Joe. Joe asked me a very specific sales question for real estate. Joe said, what is your best approach to door knocking in a specific farming area, such as subdivisions? Okay, Joe, two things I want you to focus on in the big picture. The first one is safety. September is Realtor Safety Month, and I find that a lot of realtors think nothing's ever going to happen to them, that they're always going to be safe, and that nothing horrible could happen to a realtor. What every realtor should know is that over 60,000 assaults are made on realtors annually of all different shapes and sizes and across the spectrum. It's male and female too, Joe. So just because you're a man does not make you immune from troubles. So when you're thinking about realtor safety, a couple of things to keep in mind. The first one is make sure somebody knows where you are. Your broker of record, your business partner, your spouse, your kids, your best friend. Somebody needs to know, hey, I'm headed out to go knock doors in Elm Street, Grove, whatever the neighborhood is, and what time they should reasonably expect you back. That's really basic safety. The second thing when you're going into a neighborhood is consider your dress. Now, before you get mad at me, you should know how I feel about realtors in professional dress. Y'all, we have to take it up a notch. Too many realtors want to wear their track pants and a t-shirt to go out and knock on doors. Well, if I am the homeowner looking at you through my Ring doorbell thinking, who is this coming up the sidewalk? If you don't look like a professional realtor, it's far less likely that I'm going to open the door to you. And remember, that's what people are doing now. They've got their little app, it buzzed at them. So now they're deciding if they're going to open the door or not. They're deciding if they're going to post you on Nextdoor and talk about this sketchy person walking up the sidewalk and everybody be on alert. And so if you remember that that's the world we're in, if you also remember how big of a deal it is to be somebody's realtor, that you're handling their largest financial instrument, that there's emotion wrapped up in this. It could be divorces and estate sales and relocations and job loss and all those feelings. You've got to put forth that sense of confidence that a professionally dressed person gives forth. Now, if you're door knocking, it's going to depend on what area you're in, what price point you're in, and frankly, what time of year it is. And as we move into the fall, who the heck knows what the weather's going to be at any given time. So if I'm Joe, I'm probably wearing a button-down shirt, may or may not have a tie on, depending on where you're located, may or may not have a blazer on if I'm hot or not, but I'm going to look like I'm reasonably put together so that I can create a brand that says I am a professional who puts forth confidence by dressing to the level I'd like to be perceived as. Now, that's all on the safety side. On the other side, for practical tips, the first one is door knock somewhere close to you. Make sure it's a place where after you meet somebody at their doorstep, you might interact with them at the grocery store or the gas station or at Friday Night Lights. That's going to be so much more impactful for your business than driving an hour across town and trying to break into a market where you don't live and interact day to day. Because remember, real estate is a relationship business and you build relationships gradually over time. It's not a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Actually, it shouldn't be, because that's a really terrible business model. If you're building a sustainable business, you're all about the relationship. So when you're in that neighborhood close to you, you're thinking, okay, so I'm going to go door knock. How do I do it? Let me just tell you that we're still in a world where people have different opinions about the COVID. So knock on the door, ring the doorbell. And if it's that little Ring or Nest or whatever video camera, I'm going to wave at it and say, hey, I'm a realtor, and make sure they know that I'm announcing my profession so that they don't get spooked out. And after I ring it and knock on the door, I'm going to take a few steps back, because if it's a person who's very nervous, I'm going to give them enough space to say hello without me being right here. Because sometimes we all need a little personal space, COVID or not. Let's just be honest. Now, I'd also tell you, don't expect to get invited in. You're not selling rainbow vacuum cleaners. And I do have a personal issue with the rainbows, and I'd love that y'all sell them. But oh my goodness, when I had a newborn in my house some 18 years ago, the rainbow salesman came to the house, and my husband and I were so sleep starved. We let that person in the house, who proceeded to vacuum the lampshade, which was so weird. And we were so tired, we couldn't run him off. Eventually he left. We didn't buy anything. I don't ever want to be that person. And so you're not there to push your way in and sell something. You're there to plant the seed. And so here's what I say. Hey, I'm Lee Brown. I'm with One Community Real Estate. Just wanted to put a face with a name. You may have seen my car around town. Your kids may have interacted with my kids at school. Hopefully that was a positive interaction. And you may have gotten my mailings from time to time or seen my signs. I just wanted to introduce myself in the event that you need anything. That's it. It's nothing crazy. I'm not there to sell. I'm there to personalize an impersonal reputation, because when somebody sees your yard sign or even sees you on social media, that's not you. So when they get to meet the real you, that's where you go next level. Now, here's my big pro tip. Make sure you always have Post-it notes and that you write on them before you head out to go knock on doors. What it's going to say is, sorry, I missed you, Lee. Although Joe, you should sign Joe instead of Lee, or that will be weird. And so then when you knock on a door and they're not there, attach this to your business card or a brochure of some sort and leave it behind in the door or whatever, so that there's a personal touch to you having visited the house. I will say that I see realtors that go out with these door hangers and they're just leaving them all around town. Why would somebody take a look at that? Give them a reason to engage with you, even if you're not there. And Post-its are an amazing resource for that. I'll also tell you that you've got to consider the time of day when you're door knocking. All right. Now, this kind of goes in both the safety and the practical tips category. I run very early, as many of y'all know, and I like to run with this one girlfriend of mine, and we run from her house sometimes. Well, I was sitting in front of her house at 5 o'clock in the morning because we were doing a late start. And here came a lady and her teenage son going up the front doors, dropping a little flyer, which was a football calendar for the Carolina Panthers, and moving on. And I was like, it is not even remotely close to sunrise. Who is this woman? And kudos to her for working, and kudos to her for having her teenage kid out working, but what are they doing? And so when my girlfriend came out of her house, I said, hey, what did they put on your door? And she brought it to me, and it was a realtor putting out football calendars, prospecting. So high five to her for doing some work. But I would also suggest that it's a better idea to do this in daylight hours and ideally around midday. However, I'll add this little practical tip item. If you're in a neighborhood where there's a high demographic of tinies in the houses, and I mean people who nap around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I wouldn't be ringing a bunch of doorbells, because the last thing you want to do is interrupt a sleeping baby. Consider all of those pieces. Long story short, door knocking does work. Yes, it's hard work. And yes, it's an old practice, but friends, just because something's old fashioned doesn't mean it's out of style. All right. Now, that's a long answer to Joe's question. Let's see what's next. Okay. Haley Brown, Sue says, any tips for getting more referrals and testimonials from my clients at closing? All right. First of all, stop calling them referrals, because that feels icky. Think about this. When somebody says, I want a referral, I want to place a referral, that phrase tends to imply money. And honestly, we really want people to bring us their trusted people so that we can work with more delightful people. There is a rule of thumb in the world that great people hang out with great people, and jacklegs hang out with jacklegs. And so you totally want your great people to bring you more great people. So how about you say to them, is there anyone that I should meet? Maybe they want to be my best friend. Maybe they want a realtor. Maybe they're just one of your friends that I think you're awesome. Go ahead and make a direct ask. They'll either say yes or no. Regardless, you've planted the seed that you'd like to meet somebody. Is there anyone I should meet? Now that's direct. Some of y'all are just not that direct. You're like, Lee Brown, I can't do that. That's icky, too direct. Blah, I can't do it. All right. Here's what you're going to say. You're going to say to them, what, could I ask you a favor? And what are they going to say? You're at closing, right? They love you right now. It's the most loving time in real estate. And they'll say, of course I'll do you a favor. And you say, will you send me one somebody in the next year? What do you mean send you one somebody? Somebody that I should be connected with, because I really like and respect you. You've been a great client. I'd like to just meet somebody like you. It's a little bit softer than the first approach, but neither one is, so who do you know that needs to buy or sell? Because I hate that old tired phrase. It's a little aggressive. And the world right now, our clients don't want us to be aggressive about that. They do want to feed us business, but we have to let them know that we're open to it. So I ask for one somebody. And by the way, I don't ask for a buyer or a seller, because then I'm expecting my client to go do the work. No, their job is to introduce me. My job is to build the relationship. Very similar to what I said in that previous answer to Joe's question about door knocking. That's the first thing. And also train yourself to ask people to recommend you. If you want to build your testimonial book, don't tell somebody you need them to review you or that you want a testimonial. Ask them, would you be comfortable recommending me? And you know what they're going to say? They're going to say yes. If they say no, though, don't be upset. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump the shark there for 1 second. You said to your client, would you feel comfortable recommending me? And they're like, nope. You need to put on your big girl panties and say, I need to get better at something then. I'm ready to take notes. What do I need to get better at? Please tell me. I really want to get better. That is one of the most powerful things anybody can say in life is, I want to get better. You want to look at your own life. You should always be seeing a succession of getting better. I look back at some of the things I've done and said and ways I've done business worse than I do it today. I've got to be trying to get better all the time. I mean, honestly, it's part of why I talk about my faith all the time. It's to help y'all hold me accountable, help me hold me accountable, because I got to be getting better. So somebody might not want to recommend you because you weren't on your A game. Be able to take it and then button it up and get really excellent. Most people, though, are going to say, absolutely, I'd recommend you. Your next job is to tell them how to recommend you. Well, first of all, if you're willing to, would you fill out one little 5-star about me somewhere? Where do you hang out? And by the way, you should already know where they hang out. So we've talked about this before, my little intake sheets. One of the questions you should be asking people is, where do they get their real estate information? Is there a specific app they use, a specific website? Do they go to YouTube or what have you? When you know where they hang out, that's where you want them to write a review or a testimonial for you, because they're going to be more likely to do it where they feel comfortable online. If you are asking somebody to go write reviews about you on 1,000 different places, first of all, that's too much and people are too busy. And second of all, if they're not already set up with a profile, and now they got to set up a profile and go to their email and confirm it, and here's a text code and this and such, they're gonna be done far before they ever got started. So get more targeted, get more specific, and then most of all, be thankful. When you get someone who writes you a very kind review, you need to send them a thank you note in the actual mail, like a handwritten note. Thank you so much for taking that time. It means the world to me, because that's what attracts other people to my business that are like you. I want to attract more clients like you. And this is where you got to think in terms of the laws of attraction. And this goes to Marketing 101. Marketing 101 says there's 2 kinds of marketing. There is push marketing. And push marketing is, here's me, here's me, here's me. In real estate, that's flyers and postcards and calendars and billboards and bus benches and me, me, me. And then there's pull marketing. And pull marketing is where you are doing, saying, creating conversation that pulls people to you. It's why I tell realtors all the time, you got to make video, because if you make video and let people meet you, even over a screen, they're more likely to want to engage with you over time. That's powerful. If we look at the history of great brands, the ones that have really built something sustainable have created a pull environment that brings people in, not a push environment that is all a one-sided conversation. All right. Last question today, because I've rambled a lot. What are your, oh, this is a good one. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Haley Brown, what are your thoughts on short-term rentals as an investment opportunity? I've got so many things I could say about short-term rentals. First of all, many people call them Airbnb, but that is one provider of short-term rentals. You've got lots of other websites out there, but they're amazing as an investment opportunity. And here's why. Even prior to COVID, people were transitioning to this way of vacationing because you can be more immersed in a local area. And frankly, there's something nice about having a little extra space to move around in. When we moved into a COVID era, people got very allergic to being around other humans and didn't want to interact in lobbies or joint fitness centers or the little breakfast room at the Hampton Inn, any of that. So many people started vacationing in Airbnbs where they could have a privacy and a little bit more secured space. That's not changing. And I'll tell you that it's one of my favorite ways to vacation, because 2 teenagers, it would be so expensive to go to hotels because you'd need 2 rooms and we still wouldn't have any communal space. when we travel together as a family and we can get a tiny cottage or somebody's a little apartment or a loft, whatever, there's a little communal space where I can fix meals because I love to cook. We can play a family game or watch a movie together. And that's just a better way to vacation for us. And we're not the only ones who think that way. So it's not the COVID requirements that make me happy. It's the space that I really enjoy. And then also when we went to Rome in 2017, we stayed in an Airbnb in somebody's flat in the middle of a residential area. Now, I don't speak Italian, neither does my husband. And we took our son, our daughter wasn't able to go. None of us, that's not our language. We're not really even romance languages anymore because it's been so long since I was fluent in French. It's pretty much gone. And we were able to go to the local market and we figured it out. Even being foreigners with a foreign language, the local gelato shop was 1,000 times better than the touristy places. We got to see the cats and say hello to the neighbors. And most importantly, you'll think this is crazy, you get a washer and dryer if you select the right short-term rental. Hey, and I love to do laundry on vacation because I can come home with everything clean. And if you agree with me on that, now is the time to say amen, Lee Brown. I'm a high maintenance traveler just like you are. Thank you. All right, so back to them as an investment opportunity. I'm showing you this piece so you can think about how the market is expansive and how the market is growing. And we see this because our hotel world is a little bit stretched on the commercial side, trying to figure out how to get people back from that slightly more communal, community-focused, relaxed vacation space. So when you think about it as an investment opportunity, if I have a single family home here in town that I have as a rental house, I'm going to get one tenant over 12 months. They might stay for 2 years or 3 years. They're going to pay me a monthly rent every month. All right. That is very low wear and tear. It is a great home for somebody and it works. However, the short-term rentals, what you'll find is that there's a bigger turnover. And so when you have bigger turnover, that's going to generally increase your numbers. And with short-term rentals, it could be a weekend, it could be a night, it could be a week. The big growth that we're seeing too is in those midterm rentals of 1, 2, 3 months as people are selling and then figuring out where they want to land or navigating the still short inventory of properties to purchase. They need somewhere to go. And that's not available in your traditional rentals because those are minimum 12-month lease. And not everybody wants to stay in a hotel for all the reasons I mentioned previously. So you think about it, that churn drives your numbers up. So a short-term rental will generate a higher cash flow than a traditional single-family rental. The trade-off is it does need to be furnished and it does have to have amenities. And I've watched that change over the last 5 or 6 years. Used to be an Airbnb, you still brought all your own stuff. Now, when I stay in one, it's generally got body wash and lotion and sunscreen, and they've got little amenities, a little book telling me where I can go stay, their favorite restaurants. That is a really nice touch to make it very turnkey. That does cost you more as an investor. However, you learn how to manage that. You also set up corporate buying accounts with companies like Wayfair, where you can buy inexpensive furniture because you will have to replace your furniture. Because again, the difference in a traditional rental and short term is turnover. The short term, you may not need any furniture. Excuse me. The long term, you may not need any furniture. The short term, you definitely do, but you also need towels and sheets and a little few things in the kitchen so somebody can manage. You just got to decide what makes sense for you. One of the challenges on the short-term rentals is the management of that turnover with clientele, but there are host companies out there that can help manage that for you, and that's professional property management of a different sort. And I would always suggest a professional property manager whenever you're looking at investment properties. I'll also point out that those short-term rentals don't just have to be in resort markets, although we know one of the best performing is in the Gatlinburg area in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. That's, of course, not my market, but I know some great people there. So if you need a name of a realtor in any of those markets, just send me a message. I'll connect you to some really great people. The reality is we also need them in markets like Concord. We have a shortage of short-term rentals here because the long-term rentals are doing very well and it's not traditionally a resort market. So why do people use Airbnbs? Weddings, coming to take care of a family member, short-term job assignments, or maybe they're just coming to town and don't want to stay in a hotel. So all of those things add up. It definitely makes sense. Always talk to your local realtor. And if you don't know somebody in the market where you're purchasing, your local realtor should have a great name for you because that's part of the reason we build networks on the internet and through conferences and conventions so we can always have a great network of great professionals with excellence that can help you. Anyway, that's all we got for today. And whoo, you got 3 rambly answers to your questions. Thank you for submitting those. Anything you want to know, ask me anything, send it by DM, send me an email, text me, put it here in the comments. Most importantly, go enjoy the rest of your Thursday.